The Egyptian government successfully evacuated residents living within 500 meters from the borders with Gaza in November. It demolished buildings and dozens of tunnels used for illegal trafficking. The authorities believe the first phase of the buffer zone has greatly affected the supply of weapons to militants there. This week it started to implement phase 2, another 500 meters.
The first phase made Sinai better by about 70%. The second phase should assure us that the threat of tunnels is over, except for rare cases, like tunnels more than 1.5 kilometers long. They are very difficult, very expensive, and it's easy for us to detect. But now with the tunnels blocked, the supply for militants is dead. And what we have in Sinai are few groups with limited supply.
But some experts say already there are tunnels extending beyond the planned 1 kilometer buffer zone.
I have personally seen tunnels that extend 2 kilometers from the Gaza border into the Sinai. And that's why we've been hearing reports that the army might extend the plan to 3 or 5 kilometers. But that is still unconfirmed. At this distance, it will be very hard to build tunnels this long because it will need ventilation systems and stronger construction. But from what I've seen on both sides there, it's not impossible for them to do it.
The second phase has been planned for several weeks, yet some issues remain unresolved.
Last week, there were meetings between those who will be displaced in the second 500 meters and officials. But the plan was put long ago and most people have already settled on their new housing options. There are few problems for those who have agricultural lands, as their compensation will be more expensive. The deeper the buffer zone goes in Sinai, the more challenges will rise. They are now going into tribal territories. Earlier, in the first 500 meters, it was just small families.
The main challenge for us is when we are dealing with civilians. We fear he could be a terrorist if he's not in our database. So we have to monitor him and see his actions to decide who he really is. Then chase this list with either arrest or kill. But we only kill those who carry weapons against us.
Rights groups have criticized the government for forcefully evacuating residents within the buffer zone, even though the government earlier said that most citizens welcomed that plan.
It has become hard to measure the amount of support the armed forces support has in Sinai. That's because people have been keeping silent. The Sinai society lives between the militants and the army, so they fear to show support to one side and then find themselves rivals with the other. So you really can't tell how they feel.
Militant attacks have escalated in the Sinai after the ousting of Islamist President Mohammed Morsi in 2013. Since then, the army has been conducting operations to eliminate these groups. The government hoped that with extending the buffer zone, it'll end the operations of most tunnels in the Sinai, and eventually militants will run out of weapons. But no one knows how much arms these groups have and how long they can keep fighting with it. That's if the tunnels are their only source of weapons. Adel EL Mahrouky, CCTV, Cairo.